Hi families, I wanted to take some time and briefly introduce you to the idea or the concept of a Chreia. We are now building upon the preliminary exercises that the students have done through their use of ProGym in 4th and 5th grade, and we're continuing on with this kind of step-by-step methodical approach or apprenticeship to writing and rhetoric. And carrying with us into Chreias is the goal of rhetoric, which we want our students to basically write well and be able to speak and articulate persuasively. So this next phase with Chreias is huge in terms of mastering rhetoric. They're building upon the narrative that they did, and instead of the narrative becoming the end, or the ultimate goal, the narrative is more of a means to an end, in that the students are going to have to use the gift of the narrative in order to praise the speaker who's saying a particular quote. So they're narrating an achievement, so to speak, that will help them persuade their reader to think that an individual is worthy of being praised. So it kind of all ties in together, but I think you'll really start to see, if your children have gone through the program in 4th and 5th grade, you're going to start to see the building block approach and the foundation that's been laid and how it kind of comes to fruition a little bit in 6th grade, and then even more so next year in 7th grade when they learn to refute or confirm an author and different stories. So it's kind of neat to see how it all unfolds. With that being said, let's do a brief definition of what the word Chreia means. The Chreia is an ancient form of anecdote. Ancient Chreias were based upon short or useful sayings. Sometimes they were based upon a deed, but whether it was a quote saying or a deed, it would be something that was considered praiseworthy, where the author or the doer of the deed was worthy of being acknowledged or affirmed or praised, made to look good, basically. So they were amplified. Ancient Chreias were then amplified into short essays, and it explained in this short essay exactly how the author of the quote was providing something that would be useful to people today or during that time period. So that leads us to the goal. What our purpose is for writing a Chreia? Well, kind of in the definition, you'll see that the goal is to help our students form logical arguments to support or defend a quote. So they're going to learn to structure their thoughts in a logical way. They're going to learn to paraphrase. They're going to learn to give credit and support a thesis with specific examples. And ultimately, the goal is to convince the reader, which in this case would be me, or whoever the teacher would be or the parent would be. But since they know that they're turning this in, they're going to be thinking of the reader as me, but they're going to try and convince me to heed the advice of the quote. So whether it is George Washington, or whether it is Benjamin Franklin, or whether it is Solomon in the Bible, the whole point and the whole purpose or the thesis of their Chreia is going to be that that particular individual is worthy of being listened to. So they're going to be building a defense of the character of the person, what they're like, why they're trustworthy, and then taking the specific saying that we're using and explaining why that is a worthy quote, why that's applicable or useful to a different group or to certain groups of people. And how do they do that? Well, they do that in the form of a 6-paragraph essay, extremely structured. Some of you have already seen the papers that have come home with a description of each of the 6 paragraphs. The thing that's new is that we call these paragraph heads of development. The students are to kind of follow the specific formula where each paragraph or each head of development serves a different purpose. And then by the end, when they've gotten to the very end, they will have found that they've created an essay that is an argumentative or a persuasive essay, and hopefully they will have convinced me that the reader or that the author of the quote is worthy of being listened to. So that is Chreia in a nutshell. The next video in this series is going to break down each of the heads of development so that you know more what is expected of the students, and maybe give you some advice on how to walk them through how much involvement they will need from you. But this is at least a little bit of a definition and an explanation of what it is and why we're doing it. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.